Hey everyone, welcome back to Entrepreneur Unlimited. I'm your host, Tawny. Today I'm doing something a little different and recording a video to go along with my podcast episode so that we can meet each other face to face. And because this is such a personal topic to me, I wanted it to feel a little more intimate. We're going to talk about developing your story, okay, your personal story. This really guides you, not only if you're an entrepreneur, but in all aspects of life. Because if you know where you came from, then you know where you're going, you know what sets you off or triggers you, as we say, and how to set healthy boundaries because you know yourself better. And then you can understand how to react and interact with the world around you. I want to get into this today. I'm calling this one Crafting Your Story, and I want to give you 3 steps to guide you on your growth and building emotional connections. Your story isn't just about your business. It's really for you. It's not just about using it as a marketing tool, but to better understand the direction that you want your life to go. When you understand the direction you want your life to go, you make better moves in your career, including business, right? If you're a creative entrepreneur, you have the freedom to set your life up a little bit more to how you want, right? You can tailor it to your needs a little bit better because you're in the driver's seat. That means taking a hard look at what you really want and desire in life and then setting your life up to get you toward those goals, right? If you're just kind of winging it, you're not really getting toward the goals that you desire. Not only is it a guiding light for you and a roadmap for you to understand where you came from and where you're going, but it also helps you develop emotional connections with a community. If you're looking to build an online community, if you're looking to grow a personal brand, then emotional relationships and connections are what are going to keep your business thriving long term. If we have an emotional connection with someone, we're more likely to stay tuned in. If we don't feel like we have anything in common with someone, that relationship is a little bit harder to foster, right? It's a little bit harder to grow. So building emotional connection starts with understanding yourself better and having a better emotional connection internally as well. And that's why in today's episode, I want to talk about how to tap into your personal story, even when it's hard, because I can tell you that it's been hard for me to understand exactly where I've been, where I am, and where I want to be. A lot of years of therapy, and trigger warning, this is going to get a little bit personal. There will be a little bit of mention of abuse. So if that's not something that you really want to tune into today, feel free to pause, come back in a time when you feel like you're in the headspace for it. I'm not going to get too deep into it, but I definitely want to be honest about my journey and where I've come from in hopes that that can help you navigate through the uncomfortableness that comes with diving into your own story. And then I want to give you 3 really easy, actionable steps to get started so that when you're moving into the new year, or if you haven't started a business and you want to, you know where to start and how to get rolling. All right, so let's just get right into it. Step 1 is reflecting on the beginning stages of your story, your life, to gain clarity. For me, there were moments in my life that completely shaped who I am. Right? We can all relate to that. Some of these moments were amazing and helped me become the creative individual and resilient individual that I am today. Others, though, were really tough. Like during my formative years, coming out of high school, I was in a really abusive relationship. And when I was younger, had this spark. I wanted to be on stage. I wanted to sing. I had no fear. Anybody could make fun of me and I'd be like, whatever, I'm doing it anyway. Or they would, try to knock me down, and I would always just push through it. And then during high school, when you're starting to come into your own and figure out who you are, is when I got into this really abusive relationship that knocked me down. It made me forget who I was. It made me, turn inwards and really internalize everything. I lost my confidence. I lost my spark. I stopped writing. I stopped expressing myself. I stopped doing a lot of the things that made me me because I thought that it was my fault. When you're in an abusive relationship, until you know better, sometimes people don't learn better, but until you know better, you assume that it's your fault. You're the reason, you're the catalyst, and you don't understand why. And you think like, what am I doing? How am I creating this reality for myself? What could I be doing better? And you're constantly putting yourself down and trying to figure out how you can make a difference in that relationship. You think the harder you try, the more that you do, the better it will be. And that's simply not true. But you don't know what you don't know. And as you're growing up and going through those formative years, you are learning how to be a human being based on your experiences. And if you don't know better, because no one tells you, gives you perspective, and you don't have the mind and life experience to tell you better, or innately have that feeling that things are better than this and this is not normal, then you're going to keep going down a really dark rabbit hole. So after this relationship, because I'm just going to skip the hardest parts of it, I came out alive and went back to college. And during that first year of college, I was introduced to books and works like The Celestine Prophecy, The Alchemist, Ishmael, Tuesdays with Morrie. And a lot of the messaging in those books is internal reflection and internal development. It's about asking yourself, who you are, and more so understanding that the actions of others are not your responsibility, and that everybody is responsible for their actions and their emotions, and to not let others' emotions and other actions dictate who you are, because you're here for a reason. You were put here for a purpose. Whether we ever understand the true magnitude of that or not, we're put here for a reason. And it's our responsibility to discover that. So I went through this really hard time. I was starting to get through it by doing internal reflection and understanding and realizing that it wasn't my fault. And even though maybe some of the things that I was doing for lack of experience and lack of maturity weren't helping the situation, the root cause of the abuse was not my fault. That realization helped me through not only processing the trauma and getting through the PTSD of it all, doing that internal self-reflection, that internal work, really helped me understand that I could rewrite my story and not let that define who I was forever after that. I knew that, listening to people who had gone through similar circumstances, going to therapy, gaining perspective, because that's huge in life, is gaining perspective so that we can look at things outside of our lens, and see things from different angles, right? Because our truth is our truth, but others' truths are also accurate, are also valid, are also significant, and we need to be open-minded enough to allow that in. Part of that experience also led me to the opposite side of the spectrum, where I just became almost too independent and I needed to do everything on my own. And I was like, I can do this, I can do anything, this is all on me, I don't need anybody, which can also be super damaging, right? But that is really the origin of my story and figuring out who I was and who I wanted to be. Since then, I've also faced quite a number of hardships that have maybe reverted me back to a place of feeling like I was unworthy or lacked confidence, feeling insecure, and always having to come back to, okay, things happen to you, but they don't have to define you. And repeating that to myself and knowing that I have bigger goals and bigger dreams, and I don't want setbacks in life to define me, just continue to propel me forward. But it was that early work, that independent self-reflection, working on self, that set me up for success. I think if I would have fallen into, a really closed off victim mentality and stayed there and didn't seek therapy and didn't seek help and didn't seek outside, guidance and assistance, my life would have been a lot different. People say to me a lot that you're so resilient and you persevere no matter what. And it's not easy. And I'll tell you, it's not easy. It's just that I see bigger things for myself, and I know that I am in control of my emotions. I am in control of my actions, and nobody can take that away from me. The story there is that regardless of what I've gone through, regardless of what you've gone through in life that has had the opportunity or the potential to knock you down, you ultimately have the choice whether or not you rise up above it and learn how to deal with it in a healthy way. I know this happened to me. I recognize that sometimes the PTSD of it will come out. Sometimes the triggers will be there. But being self-aware and understanding that, okay, this is why I reacted that way. This is why I feel this way. That is what makes you a more resilient person, right? That's what helps you persevere. Bringing that into my business, and into my life and into my career means that anytime that I face a setback and it didn't feel good because it felt too familiar, and that path that, or in those ways that didn't feel good in the past when I was in a very unhealthy, toxic situation, I'm like, I gotta get out. I gotta set boundaries for myself. I'm not allowing this to be my life. I'm not allowing this to dictate my life. I'm gonna try something different. And I did. I just picked up and tried something different. Not a lot of people can do that, and I understand that, whether you have responsibilities financially, or personal responsibilities, you can't always just up and leave what you're doing and do something else. But I think that if you do have the opportunity to, just understand that things need to change, and don't just stick it out because you're stuck in that victim mindset or that paralyzing mindset where you're like, I'm stuck here, I can't do anything else, because it's absolutely not true. You are in control of your life. We write our own stories. We are in control of our life. Yes, there are external factors to consider, but at the end of the day, we decide. So one big thing that I had to unlearn was saying yes to everything. I had to learn how to say no. I had to learn how to set boundaries, because for a long time I didn't. It didn't happen overnight. Like my early 20s, I started this spiritual journey, and it wasn't until my 30s, my late 30s, that I was really like, okay, I think I have a handle on this. And that was years of work, years of setbacks, years of therapy, years of taking a hard look at myself and being like, girl, sometimes you are the problem. Like you need to be better, do better. But along the way, I did a lot that didn't feel good. I said yes to a lot of jobs I didn't want to do. I tried that hustle culture. I did all the things that I thought I should do. And one of the biggest things in therapy that I learned that has stuck with me forever and still plays in my mind these days is, she was like, you say should and shouldn't a lot. Who is telling you you should do something? Who is telling you you shouldn't do something? You place those restrictions on yourself. Every time that I said yes to something and thought I'm doing this because I should, I'm like, who is telling me I should be doing this? Is it me? Is it someone else? Is it my expectations? Is it unrealistic expectations? Like, what is that voice that I need to just like, shut up? I didn't want to say yes to everything anymore, and I needed to learn how to say no. As soon as I started learning how to say no, my relationships changed, my career changed, and I said yes to more of things that served me, which led me to my second business, my coffee shop. So in developing our story and finding the pinnacle, like the moment where you have those like aha moments and you understand, this is what shaped me, this is what I can control, this is what I can't control, then for you is uncovering what moments shaped you in your life, and what values or lessons did you learn from those experiences. That's number one. Okay. Mine, toxic relationship, lost my way, found spirituality, did a lot of inner work, a lot of therapy, and the values and the lessons I learned from those experiences is boundaries, character development, and knowing, my part, the part I play and the part that others play, and to not take things personally when someone else is having a bad day, because their bad day doesn't mean my bad day or my bad life. Saying yes to more of things that serve me and no to things that don't. What are yours? And this isn't about judgment. We have shame, we have embarrassing moments. We've all done things we're not proud of. We will probably still do things that we're not proud of, right? We're not perfect. That's part of being human. So this is not about judgment. It's about gaining clarity and a clearer sense of who you are and where you want to go. Now that you know where you're coming from, you can strengthen emotional bonds by identifying that transformative period in your life, or that those transformative moments. That happens when we say A took me to B. I went through this to get here. These are the things that shaped me to be able to do this, right? It's about perseverance. It's about inspiring others to know that they can get through it too. For me, working all those jobs, I became hyper independent. I had to prove that I could do anything in spite of what happened to me, which was, again, the pendulum swung too far the other way, had to come back a little bit, but doing all those things and grinding so hard and still having like near negative balances in my bank account and feeling like I was working and not getting anywhere. I still have moments like that today, but the transformative period was understanding that you can keep on transforming yourself. Like, you can keep on going through transformative moments to get over the hurdles. When I felt like I was really stuck and I was grinding and I was meeting that resistance again, I would reflect and be like, okay, what do I need to do to get myself out of this shitstorm? So I would do things like take a course or go back to school. And I did a few different things before I found my way. I went back to school for landscape design and horticulture. I love plants. I started doing, I went from fashion to visual merchandising to merchandising plants to plant care and landscape design. It was a very strange path, but it all made sense at the time. And it led me to marketing, and it led me to digital marketing. And because I'm such a creative person, I wanted to do photography and design and all of these things, and writing and copywriting and SEO and website design. And it just kind of all came together, and it made sense to then move into digital marketing, where I then started Digital Unlimited, my digital marketing company. The transformation is things can be hard, but you have to keep evolving, right? You have to keep reflecting. You have to keep trying to do new things. And I am a prime example of someone who can go through so many different kinds of shit storms and always come out the other side being like, okay, here's the next thing. And I'm not an anomaly. I'm just somebody who recognizes that I can do this, and I know I will do this, and I persevere through it. Life is hard. Through everything that I've learned, one of the biggest lessons is that life is fleeting, okay? Nothing lasts forever. People will not be in your life forever. You will not be around forever. So what does it matter if you fail? If you try and fail, that's great. But if you never try and you regret, that's sad, right? And we don't get to do this again. Not that we know of, maybe not in this way. So why not try and try and try again and continue to transform into the person that you want to become? It might sound floofy, okay? But it's so real that you can have as many do-overs as you want. Growth is possible, and it's always messy. It is never linear. It is never neat. It is never tidy. It is always messy, and it comes with frustration and breakdowns and anxiety and a lot of tears. I'm a very sensitive person, so when I go through things, I get super emotional and super sensitive. So if you're close to me, you probably notice that I'm a lot more passionate, a lot more sensitive when I'm going through moments of transformation and growth. It's because I want things so badly, and I know my worth, and I know what I'm capable of. And sometimes it's so hard to go through the shit of it to get to the other side. And as an emotional person, like, it hurts. I feel it. I'm going through it. I'm living it. This is a very organic and active, alive experience. Don't be so hard on yourself when things are messy. And when you're trying to get to the other side of a hurdle, you find that you have many setbacks, because that's part of the growth process. I also want to say that if you continue to hit resistance after resistance after resistance, if everything feels too hard, then the approach might need to change, right? You don't want to keep on banging your head against the wall if you're not making any progress. It might be that you're doing something that doesn't align with what actually feels good to you, and that's where the resistance comes from. So be real with yourself. Does it feel good? Is it worth it? Is there something you could change or something that you could shift to, give some space to the situation and maybe help you get there with a little less resistance? So the action step for this one is thinking about one transformation that happened in your life, the lesson you learned from it, and how you could share it as it relates to your origin story. All right, the third step is developing your why to help guide your decision making and building those purposeful relationships. You may have heard this before, but it's so important to understand the why of everything that you do. That why, that one thing or that main thing that drives you every day, is what you want to focus on when things get hard, seem unattainable, when you get bored, when you forget why you're doing what you're doing. That why is what's going to guide you. And it doesn't have to be monetary. It can be very, very personal. Like, I want to spend more time with my family. I want more freedom. I want to live a longer, healthier life. Whatever it is, your why is what guides you when things get hard. And it also helps you understand who you're trying to connect with. So for me, my why is wanting to help others overcome some of the things that I had to go through and maybe not struggle so much. I feel like I didn't always have a guide. I didn't always have someone telling me this is the easy path to take, right? It was very hard for me and I had a lot of setbacks. And I feel like if I can help someone jump some of those hurdles, like that's all I want. Knowing my why has shaped so many of my decisions. If it's a partnership or a project that doesn't align with my core values, I, at this point in my life, have no problem saying no. And I just want to inspire others to have that confidence when it comes to their career or business. So your job now is to find your why. What is your why? What's your guiding light? It can be anything. You don't have to share it with anyone, but it needs to be something that you tell yourself that keeps you going when times are hard. When your story and your why align, it not only helps with your personal growth, but it helps you build stronger relationships with others. All right, so let's recap. Number 1, reflect on your beginning. Use your experiences to gain clarity on your values. Number 2, identify your transformation. Share moments of growth to connect with others on an emotional level. And number 3, define your why. Let your purpose guide your decisions and your relationships. Remember that your story isn't just for others. It's your guiding light. It's your compass helping you make informed decisions, set boundaries, and create a life with purpose. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. If this episode resonated with you, hit the like button, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need to hear this message as well. As always, stay connected. I'm on Instagram at Tawny Unlimited. And until next time, keep growing, keep evolving, and keep crafting your story.